So yeah, it's going to be tough sledding. It's going to be tough sled.
Well, we knew that.
We all knew this going in.
We were sitting here grimacing over the first 2 months of the schedule.
Yeah.
When we did this, but
Yeah.
yeah, so it's not going to get any easier.
No, it's not. But yeah, I mean, but you got to, if you're hitting rock bottom, you got to go nowhere but up. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the second episode of The Men in Orange and Black with Steve Murray. I am Matt Craig. And, well, someone on this podcast did correctly predict what was going to happen. Steve, I guess it's all your fault that the Flyers
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, that's what I thought.
That's right. You got a question? Yes, the 8-ball. I didn't want to be right, but I was right.
But you were right.
Tough start.
Yeah, tough go. Yeah. So, I mean, why don't we head into the second episode? We'll break down what we're going to be talking about. Obviously, we'll take a look here in the first period of the first 5 games of the season. Not exactly ideal, but we'll recap briefly what happened. The second period, though, we're going to go through our studs and duds of the first 5, who we thought did very well and who kind of needs to step up their game a little bit. And then in the third period, we'll look ahead to the next few slate of games on their schedule towards the end of October.
Between our next recordings.
Yes.
Just to be clear, because I think at least one of these Washington games will have been played by the time this episode airs.
That's right.
This goes from the season opener from Vancouver to the home opener of Vancouver.
At least we're done with the Canucks. We're done with them.
Right. Yeah,
we're all finished.
Thank goodness.
Thank God. So why don't we go ahead and get started? Diving in here, opening night against Vancouver in their building, played them really tough, and walk out of there with a 3-2 shootout victory, Steve. Morgan Frost with the game winner with the slowest goal ever in the history of mankind as he walked his way briefly.
No, I've seen, I didn't want to say it was Kuznetsov from the Capitals, I think.
Oh, yeah.
The slowest.
You could go to the library, rent a book, read it, come back, and he still would not have scored a goal. I mean, with him being that deliberate. Yeah. But a huge win to start the season, right? I mean, you get in there, you're thinking like, okay, at least you walk out of there with at least 1 point, but you got a bonus, obviously, with the shootout victory. Very gritty effort.
Yeah.
The next night, though, in Calgary, they fly late coming out of Vancouver into Calgary. It's Calgary's home opener. They're jazzed up, obviously, and they blew us out of the building 6-3, Steve. Thoughts there? I mean, I did see the first period, and
well, look, I'm gonna be honest. I saw the first period against Vancouver. I saw the first period against Seattle, and that was about it because they were all 10 o'clock games, and that's just past my bedtime.
Yeah, me too.
And the home opener was a miss because my son had his first hockey game of the season that night. So obviously I'm picking my son over the Flyers. Just going back quick to the Vancouver game.
Yeah.
Sam Ersson looked really good.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
The first, 5 minutes or so of that game, the Flyers were just kind of getting their bearings and he kept them scoreless until they got their first goal.
Yeah.
So Ersson looked really good. Calgary was a back-to-back, so it was Fedotov going, and we were looking to see, we talked about on the first episode, can he play 30 games to give Ersson a break? He didn't look great in that game, but he did make some saves to try to keep it close, and it just didn't happen.
Yeah.
But, the second half of a back-to-back with the travel from Vancouver to Calgary, you're on the West Coast time.
You're all kind of funked up. Yeah, with a time
Calgary
difference.
started 4-0.
Yeah, right? They've been red hot. No pun intended up there. They've been red hot in the Pacific Division, obviously. And, they've got a lot going on right now. Pretty good defense, pretty good offense as well. Good mix, good goaltending as well. So they're doing pretty well. You go to Edmonton, though, and again, you're playing the defending Western Conference champs. Pretty tight. You have Michkov scoring 2 goals, one of which was a beautiful power play goal below the dots of the faceoff circles.
Yep.
That was an absolutely beautiful goal. Beats Skinner. Um,
Yeah, but the other one was like, pounded
your
home.
garbage goal,
So
yeah.
garbage goal, which superstars score that type of goal. That's
Yeah.
just the way it is.
You-
It's not going to be pretty every time. You got to score the goals you can score, and that was one of them.
Yeah, which I love because you had that, but then you also had the superstar goal where he puts it in below the dot. That is a difficult shot to get it in there through all that traffic.
2 power play goals.
We'll talk about the power play a little bit later on.
Well,
But
it's just disgusting. It's 2 power play goals in this economy.
yeah. It was Edmonton's first win. They've been slow out of the gates a little bit, Steve. But I think they were slow out of the gates last year.
And they fired their coach and hired a former Flyers coach. And not Chuck Knobloch.
I was just gonna say
Knobloch. I forget his first name. Knobloch. Chris. That's it. Chris Knobloch.
Yeah.
He hired Chris Knobloch. He got him all the way to the Cup final. Yeah, I mean, this was an interesting game for me as a test to see where they could be, because obviously Edmonton, even though they were struggling, you're getting the defending Western Conference champions.
Yeah.
They need a win badly.
Yeah.
And they went toe-to-toe with them. I mean, they had a lead. Ultimately, they gave up a goal to tie it late. You don't want to see that. And then, Sanheim just wipes himself out in overtime. And
the next thing you know is you got McDavid and Draisaitl coming down your wings, and it's like, oh, God, now we're in trouble, and that's exactly what happened.
Exactly. But losing to Edmonton, especially in that scenario, was not the worst thing in the world.
No.
Because I have concerns. The extra 2 first-round picks we have this coming off season.
Yeah.
One belongs to Edmonton and one belongs to Colorado.
Yeah.
The Colorado pick is top 10 protected, and the Edmonton pick is top 12 protected.
Yeah.
Which means Edmonton and Colorado both basically have to pretty much make the playoffs.
Yeah.
For those picks to convey.
Yeah.
And Edmonton was like winless when we went into the barn. So it's not the worst thing that they beat us.
Yeah.
We got a point out of it, thank goodness.
Yeah.
But hopefully that gets them started to a point where they're not going to be bottom 12.
We got to get them rocketing up the standards there, as you can see, like kind of over my shoulder. Got to get them going a little bit.
Colorado is a different story. They have yet to find their bearings, I think.
Yeah.
So hopefully they start climbing as well.
Well, yeah. Then you go to Seattle, a game I know you and I back and forth texting us. I kind of had a feeling this was the game you were going to win out there in the West Coast, like legit. Everything was going pretty well. Scott Lawton, a couple of goals in the first period, 2-1. I'm thinking like, okay, they were off to a pretty good start. And then
I went to bed.
And I went to bed, and I'm thinking like, okay, it seems like everything's going to be all right. I go to check the score. 4 goals second period by the Kraken. I'm thinking, what the hell happened? And there was just breakdowns after breakdowns after breakdowns in that game. It was not good. They lost their composure a little bit. And rightly so. If you give up 4 in the second, you're kind of getting a little ticked off at your own play. Mm-hmm. And fortunately, you got some people that you could take it out on. But at the same time, it's kind of like, come on, guys, you got to pick up your play a little bit.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair, they fought back.
They did.
They made it 5-4. It was, 5-2?
Oh, yeah.
Right. Yeah, so it was 5-2. They fought back to make it 5-4. Then late in the third period, Drysdale with a bad pinch. But, I mean, he's as
he's showing his youth.
Tortorella says, it's youth. And Tortorella said he's got to learn to play defense. That's you got to learn when to go and when not to go, and that was a time not to go.
With 5 minutes left in the third, you've got to play. Keep that defensive mindset going.
Right. So to their credit, they fought back in that game. I think the bigger issue, and we'll get into this a little bit more in the second period, is a lot of that was on Fedotov.
Oh yeah.
Few goals he would like. I mean, there were a couple that I saw where he had no chance. They weren't all his fault, but he let in a couple that were, I don't want to say backbreakers, but it's one of those ones where you kind of slump on the bench when you're a player. Just
it's like,
I can't believe that went in.
Great. So you don't want soft goals. So you have a rotten game there. You fly back home. that I believe it was that Friday morning, essentially. And
Probably, yeah.
you arrive and you got to get ready for the home opener Saturday night against Vancouver, who you just played. And it was going, well, you had a little bit of a slow start, and they just could not find their legs. Pretty much watched all the first, and then the second period was getting kind of close to where the Seattle game was. It was almost like a little bit of a disaster. Breakdowns in defensive zone coverage again. And the next thing you know, 3-0, and that was it. Basically, Vancouver's like, okay, they're not coming back. And that pretty much was it. They had virtually no offense to speak of. They could not get anything going. There were a couple of stretches during the game, particularly in the second period, where they had pretty good sustained pressure for maybe about a minute and a half, 2 minutes in their offensive zone, or in the Vancouver defensive zone, I should say. But I mean, nothing really like, pressing or something like that. Nothing that resulted obviously in goals or anything like that. And
Well, clearly.
Yeah, clearly. And as a result, shut out at home, not exactly ideal. What do you think
I
happened
was worried
there?
about that.
Yeah.
I was worried about that from the start because
Yeah.
the first game back from a long road trip, and it was completely on the West Coast. It was not like
Yeah.
you were working your way back from playing in LA or something, and then you go to St. Louis.
Stop off in Chicago or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
It was all West Coast. Fly back on the red eye and get ready to play. I was always concerned about that.
Yeah.
Obviously, it came true. I know Torts and the players aren't going to blame it, but it's just a reality. Those long road trips, the first game back, it's always a slog.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know Torts in his post-game press conference kind of said the first half of that game they were overpassing. You called it the Adam Oates disease.
I called it the Adam Oates disease for a reason. Yeah. Yeah. There was a couple.
Overpassing.
There was one where Tyson Forrester's coming down, essentially like the far left wing, has the puck on his stick, and he's looking for the pass. And it's like, you got to let her rip. You have to let her rip. You've got to, essentially like a 3-on-2. Take that shot on net and get a rebound or something. That kind of a deal. He elects to try and pass it in the middle, broken up. They go back the other way. And that eventually, I think, led a few months later to Vancouver's first goal.
I was hoping because he scored the first goal of the season.
And it was a beautiful play.
Beautiful play. I was hoping because it took him so long to get his first goal last year that maybe this would get his offense jump started. It just hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
And overpassing tends to be a lack of confidence issue. I don't want to shoot because it's not going to go in, so I'm going to give it to somebody else.
Yeah. He has to let her rip. That's the only thing I would want Forrester to do. He's got a hell of a shot. You just have to keep trying. Gretzky once said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. That's something he needs to do. He needs to shoot.
Why would
more.
anyone listen to him?
Why would anyone listen to the greatest player of all time?
So now we've got, the first initial stats here of the team at a glance. They only collected 3 points. What was that stat you shared with me about first 5 games and making the playoffs?
NHL.com had a history of teams making the playoffs based on points through 5 games of regular season since 2005-2006 season. Okay. Teams with 3 standings points. There were 40 teams in the history from 2005-06. 40 teams had that. Only 14 made the playoffs, so that was a 35% success rate to clinch in the playoffs. So not exactly ideal way to start the season.
I'm not gonna.
This is a rebuild, so yeah.
I don't think it matters, but so I mean the things that stand out. Obviously, you got a big goal differential there.
Oh yeah.
12-21, so 21 goals allowed.
-9.
The good news is your power play is at 22%.
Hey, we ought to raise the roof. I love it. Woo! Love it.
Yeah. Now, the problem is, and actually, well, I'll talk to penalty kill first. Penalty kill is also at 85%, which I believe is above league average.
Yeah.
So they're doing pretty good on the penalty kill. They already have one shorthanded goal. I think it came against Calgary, if I'm not mistaken.
I think that's correct, yeah.
So the problem is, you see there 12 goals scored. They have 5 power play goals and 1 shorty. So half of their goal production in the early season is special teams.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, we certainly want the power play. 22% is a hell of a lot better than 12%.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Uh, magnitudes.
Yeah.
So you want the power play clicking and scoring, but your 5-on-5 should be the bulk of your goal scoring.
No
and
question.
Right now, it's not.
And that's
the 5-on-5 play. Now, one of the problems is, and I looked this up, they have had, I think, 22 power play opportunities in 5 games and have been shorthanded 21 times.
Okay.
So if my math is correct, over 5 games, you are spending practically an entire period either killing penalties or on the power play.
Yeah.
That's not conducive to getting your guys into a regular rhythm.
Yeah.
It's not conducive to working on your 5-on-5 game.
Yeah.
It's just disjointed. And hopefully, and I think this is a problem league-wide, penalties being up. And I don't know what the impetus is. Maybe they're trying to call something tight. I don't know.
Yeah. It certainly seems to me that there might be maybe a little bit of a slight emphasis more on penalties at the beginning part of the year. It's always that way until like maybe the latter half of the year where it's like people kind of get used to what the refs are calling, quote unquote, until they don't get called.
Or the refs just go, screw it.
Screw it. I'm going to put my whistle away in the third. Yeah.
Hooking a while ago, but who cares?
Who cares?
I want to go home.
Right.
Get some TV.
Yeah. But the 5-on-5, to your point, Steve, is huge because you got to be able to do that. And I think that's one of the biggest things that with the Flyers right now, the emphasis now is how can we improve our 5-on-5 offense? And I think they're trying to work on it. But the early results, to your point, when half of your goals are scored on specialty units.
Yeah.
You know, you got to get part of it too is the goals are low. So I mean, that's another sample size we have to take into consideration as well.
Yeah, but I mean, their power play at 22%, that's a number I can live with, and that's actually above league average. So they're in the top half right now on power play percentage,
which I love. Yeah.
And shorthanded goals are just a bonus. So that's, we're scoring at a decent enough clip on the power play. The problem is the 5-on-5 goals just aren't coming.
Yeah.
That needs to improve.
Yep. All right, second period, Steve, and this one will be, I think, a little shorter, even though it is the long shift. Our studs and duds for the early.
Did we actually switch this time?
I guess we could definitely do that. Why don't we just switch now? No, kidding. We did it.
Just saying, if the second period's a long change, we should switch sides.
There you go. Exactly. Yeah. Our studs and duds for the week, or the last 2 weeks, I should say, of games. Yeah. Steve, I'll let you go first. Who would you say would be the stud for the Flyers?
So my stud, because you're taking an obvious one, I'm going to go with the power play.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
As we talked about, 22.7 something percent, 5 out of 5 goals and 21 opportunities.
That's great.
That's pretty good. I'll take that for an entire year. I mean, you'd love to have 25%, but I mean, this is baby steps.
Yeah.
12 to 22. They didn't have their 4th power play goal last season until like the 63rd power play or something.
Oh my gosh.
Their power play last year to start the year was disgusting. And I don't mean good disgusting. I mean like vomit disgusting.
Yeah.
It was a piece of crap floating on the ice.
God, that's awful.
So to have the power play clicking like this is good. And they've scored, I guess, 3 of the 5 games. They had 2 in the 1 game against Edmonton.
Yeah.
I love it. It's so far so good.
Off to a good start. Yeah, couldn't agree with you more there. For my stud, I mean, you got to go with Michkov, right? I mean, my God, 2 goals out there in Edmonton. Great way to begin his career. 3 games in, obviously was, a couple games in, didn't score. I think he had 1 assist, I think, in the Vancouver game. But the Edmonton game is the one he really shined in, and the 2 goals were huge. Really set the tone a little bit until they eventually did lose the game in overtime. But, yeah, terrific start for him. That's for sure.
Ding just a little bit because he's -6.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true. I mean, I think they are down across the board. I don't think there's not one player. I could be wrong. That's plus something.
I've got some zeros here
Yeah.
on the hockey reference. But everybody else seems to be a minus.
A minus. Yeah.
Yeah, Konechny's a -6. Faraby's a -5. Frost is a -1. What do you think about, and before I get into any of this other stuff,
Yeah.
people, it's Michkov,
Mm.
not Mishkov. Mich.
Mich.
Okay. The Cyrillic. I took Russian in college. The Cyrillic letter used in his last name is a ch, not a sh.
Yeah.
Okay, so for all you people out there with Mishkov, fix
Wrong.
it. You got to do better.
Michkov.
Michkov.
There you go.
Anyway,
Anyway.
where was I going? Oh yeah. So what do you think about his line mates? Because they tried him initially on the left side with Konechny playing the right side, and I guess Frost
in the middle.
center. Yeah, and then after the Calgary game, I think they moved him back to the right wing, and he's been playing, I believe, with Tippett.
Yeah, there have been a lot of mix and match combinations that Tortorella's doing. I think I even, what was it, the home opener, he had Sean Couturier play the wing. For the first time in his career, he was not a centerman. He was a first-time winger in his career. 800th National Hockey League game, by the way, for Sean Couturier. Fourth most in Flyers team history. That's saying something. So congratulations, Sean Couturier, for that.
He's a +0, by the way.
He is
He's one of the ones that has a 0 next to his name on the plus-minus.
So that's good. But, yeah, I think there's a lot of mixing and matching going on that Tortorella is trying to find some sort of line combination, Steve. Honestly, I would love to see him pair with Konechny. I think those two have an excellent chemistry, but at the same time, it's like you have to be able to try and find what he would be comfortable with too. And so I think that's really there. I think Torts is doing a lot of temperature taking. He's trying to figure out what is the actual line combination still. How he didn't figure that, he's probably been in the works of this, I should say, throughout all training camp, all the preseason, trying to figure all this stuff out.
Yeah,
they're a work in progress. They're clear work in progress. We won't know, I think, probably until about maybe the end of October, early part of November, who he's going to be actually paired with on a full-time basis and play with on a full-time basis. Personally, I would say Konechny. For you, personally, who would you rather see?
I would like to see him with, although he also, I can't base this on hockeyreference.com because this Travis Konechny is a center, so screw them.
It's a little off.
I would like to see him with Forster.
Yeah.
Just because Forster's a little bit more defensively responsible.
Mm-hmm.
And so that could help,
Plus,
offset
a
little bit. And Forster's a good guy to get on the wall and dig the puck out, and I think they would be a good complement. But
and plus you would have Michkov passing to Forster and Forster shooting more. So I mean, if he's got him.
Yeah, I mean, he's got 4. So he's got 4 points. He's tied with Lawton and Brink for the team lead. He's got 4 points in 5 games. He could have more if we talked about this in episode 1. Guys he passes to have to finish.
Yeah.
That first Vancouver game.
Yeah.
He set up. Forster scored that beautiful power play goal off of Farabee. He set up Frost very similarly.
Yeah.
Frost has to finish that.
Yeah.
He's in all alone on the goal. He got to finish.
You got to put that in put it in the goal.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. Well, then why don't we turn over to our duds, unfortunately. Steve, I'm going to go with you first.
All right, well, you're taking the obvious one.
Yeah, I'm taking the obvious.
I'm going to go with Owen Tippett. He has but 1 assist so far through 5 games. -4, 17 shots on goal, probably has 175 shots attempted.
Yep.
Dude's missing the net way too much.
You know what? If he's scoring, if posts are going to count as goals, he's at least got 5. I mean, he has ring that puck off the post so many different times. It's just, and he had one off Vancouver, off the post and the power play. I mean, that's right in the slot. He's right there. You got to put it in, and he rings it off the post.
He's
Yeah.
been this way since he got here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's got this unbelievable speed. There are just stretches where he just can't finish
Yeah.
for whatever reason. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. He's got my son's disease. I took him out. I took him out one day. It was just the two of us on the ice for 2 hours. I felt like every shot he was taking was hitting a post.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I don't understand.
Yeah.
He's trying to be too fine with his shot. I don't know what it is, but he just misses the net so much. I wish he would just rip it and just see what happens.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to pick a corner.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's probably it. He's probably concentrating too much for that top shelf goal, where all he's got to do is just put it in. All he has to do is just put it in. If it's an opening, you got to just take it and just shoot it. That kind of a deal. For me, my dud, well, it's Ivan Fedotov. You expecting for me, I'm going to bed, right? Especially in Seattle, as you're up 2-1, it's like, all right, you got a great shot to win.
It looks so promising.
It looks so incredibly promising, and oy vey. I don't know what's going on there. He's having some difficulty picking up the puck through screens. Now, granted, it's tough to pick up a puck through screens, but at the same time, you're built like, the Freedom Tower. Come on. You're 6'7". You can see around people.
I've heard theories, though, that might be hurting him. Okay. Instead of trying to look around, he's looking over.
Yeah.
And it kind of bears out. The first two goals he allowed in Seattle were 5-hole. If you're going like this, it's going to take you a lot longer to get down to the ice.
Yeah. Okay.
And I wonder if he's just got to learn, go side to side instead of, because I'll tell you what, when I was coaching, whenever I saw a tall goalie on the other side, my first thing I would say to my team was shoot at his feet.
Yeah.
Because tall goalies are going to have a harder time to get down.
Yeah.
They got a longer way to go. Their dinosaur brain has to get the signal all the way down to their feet. It's going to take a little while. So tallness in this case may be working against him. But, I mean, the numbers are gross. 818 save percentage, 609 goals against.
Oh.
Now, again, some of these goals are not his fault. A couple of the ones I saw against Seattle after the initial few, I mean, there was one he was just left all alone.
And what are you going to do there? And
so it's not all his fault, but there were he had some bad ones.
Yeah.
But it's two games. We can't base his entire season on
right.
this.
Exactly. And hopefully you get that goals against down. If he could get it down to a 3-5, I mean, it'd be a lot of work to do, but the more repetition, the more chances he has, and the more coaching gets up. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
You just got to hope the growing pains cease at some point.
Yeah.
Because you can't, by the end of the month, you have to have him playing at a level where you at least have a shot in a game when Ersson is sitting.
Yeah, exactly.
And for the love of God, every goal I've seen against, and admittedly, I didn't see any of them from the home opener, but every goal I saw scored against Ersson was somebody alone on the left wing side getting either a one-timer or being left completely by themselves.
Yeah.
Cover that, will you?
Yeah, please, for the love of God.
I will say, so I watched the first period of the first Vancouver game, and I already had Paling as my dud. Because he did not handle that breakout pass from Ristolainen.
Yeah.
That turned over where the guy scored that I saw all the goals scored against Ersson from.
Got to put your stick down, man. Seriously, put your stick down to receive the pass. You don't. Oh, goodness. Anyway.
Yeah. Now, he worked himself back. I will give him credit.
Yeah,
he is a +0. Okay. He is one of the few +0s on the team. So he worked himself back into my good graces.
There you go.
You better watch it.
Yeah, seriously. All right. Third period. We now look ahead, Steve, as we turn the corner here of October, and I guess getting close to the early part of November when this episode's going to drop.
And by look ahead, people, again, we're recording on a Sunday night.
Yep.
The one or two of these Washington games may already have happened by the time you're hearing this, so
100%.
We were either right or wrong.
Yeah. Exactly.
Just remember that.
Back
Keep
to
that in mind.
back to back, as you mentioned, with the Washington Caps to begin. You've got somehow Tom Wilson accidentally scoring 5 goals in 4 games.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened.
That's an accident waiting to happen. The good news is their power play is off to a slow start. 2 for 13 to begin the season. Seems to be pretty good. And the Ovi watch continues. He's got 1 goal as of right now, as we record on Sunday. So
in 4 games.
In 4 games. So, okay, you got back-to-back Metro Division. It's going to be interesting. Most of your games coming up, as we continue on this period, most of the games are going to be at home. You're not going to have an extended road trip. But with Washington, can they get got? Or is there a possibility that we could maybe get a win or two here? What do you think?
They're 3-1. I don't know who the wins came against. Washington was one of the teams we talked about. They feel like they're coming down.
Yeah.
Because Ovi's getting old. Oshie is out. I don't know.
And Backstrom's on long-term and injured reserve.
Yeah, so you got Oshie and Backstrom on LTIR.
Yeah.
They feel like they're going to backslide, and I didn't think their free agent pickups were top-notch.
No.
So you'd like to hope that they could catch these guys, but we'll see. They're off to a good start.
Yeah.
Tom Wilson needs to be punched in the face, but
5 goals in 4 games, like that's got to be an accident. Seriously,
he had to have a hat trick or something,
or at least get 2, which is weird. Like I don't quite understand that. Anyway,
I know.
But then after the home and away with Washington, you got Minnesota and Montreal, 2 home games back to back there. Minnesota off to a very good start. Haven't lost in 5 games. Kaprizov
haven't lost in regulation in 5 games.
Yeah, that's true.
3-0-2.
Kiri Kaprizov with 8 points. That's an outstanding start. Zuccarello third in the team points, but then you got
Zuccarello. I forgot was even in the league. He's got to be like 85.
Oh, he's got to be 85. Yeah, no question. But then one thing that really scares me is Philip Gustafson. Oh my goodness, 3-0-1 with a .950 save percentage, 149 goals against. Yikes. That's scary.
Bode well for a team that's not scoring at a high clip.
Yeah.
Like the Flyers.
That sounds to me like if you're going to win that game, it's going to be 2-1 or something like that. You got to be really sound defensively, and we're not doing that right now, so that's scary. That's scary.
Yeah.
You got the Montreal Canadiens, who we both love, both respect, I should say, because of the uniforms and everything. Caulfield with 6 goals. He's a tremendous young player for the Canadiens. They are, though, coming off a little bit of a 3-game losing streak as of when we're recording. So,
so they're 2-3-1. Those 3 have come in the last 3 games. That's good news, anyway.
Yeah. So we'll have to see how that goes. Then you're at Boston, which is always tough.
You skipped over their.
Yeah. Well, how do you pronounce that name?
That's Sam Montembeault.
Montembeault. Thank you.
He's got a .932 save percentage and 2.29 GAA. So another hot goalie. If luck is on our side, maybe Caden Primo will be. Sorry, Keith.
Yeah, sorry, Keith. Yeah,
I don't like to see these numbers. So.
They're scary. Yeah, stop it. Then you're at Boston, as I mentioned previously. Right. That's always going to be difficult for us. You got Swayman, typical Swayman, 2-1-1, 905, 271 GAA.
They just signed him to a big
multi-year
deal. He missed all of training camp. I mean, these numbers are good, but they're not
Swayman numbers.
They're not Swayman numbers.
Yeah.
Did they? I assume he will get back to some kind of form. But at least initially, I don't think they're happy that they got rid of Ullmark because his replacement Korpisalo was 1-1 with an .850 save percentage and a .457 GAA.
Hey, who knows? If you get Fedotov and Korpisalo in, it might be 10-9 down at Boston. That would be tremendous. And we come out with the win.
Big, good old 1985 score. For that. I like
it. Make it 10-9. I love that.
Last time I saw that was a 9-7 loss to Winnipeg. I was at the game with Brizgalov let in like 7 goals or whatever it was.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
Crazy. And then St. Louis at home. Joel Hofer? Correct me if I'm wrong on the pronunciation.
I assume that.
9:30.
I hope he's not in that.
Yeah, hopefully not. Joel Bennington, or it's not Joel Bennington. Who is it?
Jordan Binnington.
Jordan, thank you. Jordan Binnington, 895. So that bloom is definitely off the rose after winning the Stanley Cup in 2019. They have had some injuries, though. Torrey Krug, he's out for the year. Nick Leddy is also missing some games. Our old boy Braden Shen, 2 points and a -3 to start the year.
Good.
Could be a potential win there. So those that
they're 4-2. I don't know.
yeah, we'll see. But
Binnington's got the 2 losses. Hopefully he'll be in. I'm noticing a pattern. Let's see. So we want Binnington, Korpisalo, Primo, and not Gustafsson.
Yeah, exactly. I have a feeling we're facing Gustafsson. I just have this scary feeling. And then you're home for Boston. So to finish out the slate of games as we go ahead, we'll recap that, of course, in episode 3. But initial thoughts, Steve, looking ahead here. Doesn't get any easier, as we kind of alluded to last couple weeks ago. But what do you think here? I mean, you got to get started somewhere. Got to rebound here, and I think there are some winnable games in there.
The hope is you at least split with Washington.
Yeah,
you hopefully can beat Montreal.
Get a St. Louis win in there, maybe. But
maybe the hope is you can get one.
Yeah,
get a point somewhere from Boston.
Got to steal a point up there, ideally. But yeah, at home, ugh. So yeah, it's gonna be tough sledding. It's gonna be tough sled.
Well, we knew that.
We all knew this going in.
We were sitting here grimacing over the first 2 months of the schedule.
Yeah,
when we did this, but
yeah.
So it's not going to get any easier.
No, it's not. But yeah, I mean, but you got to, if you're hitting rock bottom, you got to go nowhere but up, and hopefully that's what they're going to try and do. They're going to be breaking out a little bit more. There's not as much road travel. Obviously, you're only going to Washington. You're only going to Boston. Most of your games here at the Wells Fargo, so you got a chance. Home cooking. Everybody's back. First game is Washington. You got Tuesday night. That's going to be really good. You got to, and then the matinee games there.
And you should, I think, if I remember correctly, the spacing here is fairly good, so you can get Ersson in most of these.
Yes.
I mean, obviously, they're probably going to have to go Fedotov one of the 2 Washington games since they're back-to-back, but I think the rest of them are spaced enough where Fedotov probably only needs to start 1.
Yeah.
And you can ride Ersson a little bit, but we'll see.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see what happens. So that's it for episode 2 of the Men in Orange and Black. Happy you are with us, of course. We really appreciate all the views we've gotten so far. Feel free to hit the like button, hit share and subscribe as well. And for Steve,
leave a comment so I can yell at you.
Yeah, please. Yeah, please do that. If you like what you heard, please do all those things. If you didn't like what you heard, what are you doing here? You're a Penguins fan? Seriously, what's going on here? But we really do appreciate you listening this long. For Steve,
unless you're Tom Wilson.
Unless you're Tom Wilson,
right.
Screw you, right?
You're right.
For Steve, I'm Matt. Let's go Flyers.